We both decided together that I'd go to Imagineering, at the time it was Wet Enterprises, and interview because I saw some job postings that we were working on Tokyo Disneyland and Epcot. And so I went up there and they asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I want to be a Disney artist. I want to make a world of change. And it was great. So they stuck me in a very entry-level position, setting up conference rooms and helping other artists with things to do, that they, like cutting mats and doing things like that. But what I learned when I went up there is, just because I worked at Disneyland, I loved Disneyland and all the attractions, that didn't qualify me, that didn't make me an expert in creating attractions for the park. What I learned when I went to Wet Enterprises was how much I did not know. And so I got up there, but what I did begin to learn, as Marty said, Imagineering University, that's my great aunt there in the middle there. And Tom Fitzgerald, I really owe Tom Fitzgerald and Marty the pathway to my career. They gave me lots of opportunities. And it's amazing, the thing about being an Imagineer is you never know what you're capable of doing until you start doing it. You learn to become fearless. It's amazing the things you can do. But those two guys right there, they're who got me really on the way. And Marty has seen me from the 70s all the way through being a core concept team for Carsland. There we are about a couple of months ago on the construction site. I forgot my hard hat, so I borrowed Ed's. I'm not really the head of the project, but so I owe a lot to those guys. Like him, it's amazing how much that you can learn. And in my pocket here, I wrote down what I remembered of the lyrics. When I went to see the stage show Wicked, and the song came on called For Good. And it was funny because what I was thinking about are guys like this, who I've worked with, had the pleasure of working for over 30, Tony Baxter's another one, and all the things that you learn from everybody. And these lyrics just really stuck out. So I just want to read these lyrics to you from that stage play. And it says, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, and so we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them. And we help them in return. I know I am who I am today because I knew you. Because I knew you, I have been changed for good. So much of me is made from what I learned from you, which was a theme that Kim was just talking about. And and also Scott mentioned teamwork. One of the most amazing things that I love about working as an Imagineer is not only learning from everybody, because you start to learn the craft that everybody is really good at, that they bring to the table. When people were asking me earlier, what do I need to do to become an Imagineer, is the core thing of what you're really interested in, the major in college. You bring that to the table, and then you really learn from all these experts, like John Kaczynski sitting next to Tony. This was opening day of Finding Nemo Subvoyage, and Skip Lang has been with the company for over 4 years. John is a production designer, and Skip is an amazing guy at construction and rock work, and he's done many things, many projects over the years. And just learning from these guys and hanging around people like Tony and Marty and Tom has just been an amazing thing. So the real education begins when you start working with people that really know what they're doing. They learn the business. One of my interests besides art and writing was music and lyrics and writing songs. And I had the opportunity over the years to work on projects with the great Buddy Baker and, of course, Richard Sherman. And people like this, they see the raw talent in you, and they have a way to bring it out of you, to mold you, and to shape you, and to give you advice. So it's just amazing how much you learn. I snapped this picture with my iPhone early on in the process. That's John Lasseter, who came up to review just a really rough foam core model for Radiator Springs Racers. And what's great about John is that he thinks from a filmmaker's perspective. And when Walt brought the original Imagineers over, they were all from the studio. They were film people. They knew how to set the stage and the scene. And so just hanging out with John and working with him on several projects, from It's a Bug's Life to Toy Story Midway Meeting to now Carsland, has just been a phenomenal learning experience. And Roger Gould, a director from Pixar, who's also a liaison between Imagineering and Pixar, Roger's job is to kind of head up all the Pixar projects as they relate to the theme park attractions. And Roger I've learned so much from him. He's become one of my best friends, and there we are early on with the Radiator Springs Racers, the Ornament Valley model in the background. And the filmmaker's perspective, it's just so great to think about how we do it as filmmakers. But we make dimensional films, really. Kathy Mangum there, I'm sure many of you know her. I've worked through the years on many projects with her as she was executive show producer, now on Cars Land, and I worked with her on Finding Nemo Sub Voyage, and Blizzard Beach, and Flips Fun Fair, and many other projects. But like Jody, what Kathy has the talent of doing, and I really respect what she does. She has the hardest job in Imagineering, because she herds all of us cats together and makes us, somehow gets the best out of everybody and produces everything to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because you can imagine, we do one-of-a-kind projects. It's not, it's just amazing the things that you learn from and respect from people like her who just have a way of just pulling it all together. And that picture was taken the day that we had it last year. We had the vehicle out on the loop out on Radiator Springs Racers, where we enclosed one of the loops and we rode. We got to ride over the camelback humps and around the hairpin turn around Willie's Butte, and with Mark Sumner and all the engineering group. And so we got to ride that. We came back in the station, you see the engineers in the background. Do it again! We take off and we ride again, come back, do it again! And they're okay. So they just kept sending us through. We got to ride over and over and over and over again. And it was so much fun going over those camelback humps and around Willie's Butte and then doing it again. So that was taken that day. So, and there is Roger Gould and Kathy and myself. We actually went over to Josh's lab at R&D and shrunk ourselves down. And we're small sized in this rocking chair. And the point here is that any one of us individually could not get that chair to move, but all three of us working together, we rock. Is that, and it's what Scott also talked about, is teamwork. It is so much fun being on a team and just bouncing everything off of each other and learning from one another. And speaking of rocking and teamwork, that's Robert Colton. I'm sure many of you have not heard from him or know about him, but you know his work. He's done so much over the years. We started together, we worked on the Winnie the Pooh's Many Adventures in Florida at the Magic Kingdom together about 11, 12 years ago. And Robert is the guy that sits down and works with like Joe Rohde, figures out the track plan for Expedition Everest, was the creative lead with Jody on working on the two new lands, Mystic Point and Grizzly Gulch for Hong Kong Disneyland. There we were, we kind of cooked up Toy Story Midway Mania, and there we are on a first article test mock-up there, and I'm so lucky because I get to go in and work with people like Robert every day, and all the rest of my panel here, who they inspire you tremendously. In fact, Robert is probably, I tell you, he's probably working right now. He's at home in front of his drawing table, working on a bunch of stuff I can't tell you about, which is happening after Cars Land. And like 6 times today, he texted me and said, "Hey Kev, I'm in scene 6. What do you think if we stage this such and such over in the thing?" So he works constantly. And there we were, right before opening, and worked together, and it's just been amazing. When we started to expand Disney California Adventure and figure out what we were going to do for the future, and I started thinking about the idea of what if we had a car theme type of a land or attraction, and got a hold of Robert, and we came together and kind of worked out the first model of what was Carland before Cars Land. And worked on the first take on Radiator Springs Racers together, and Robert he went back to his apartment and sat down and laid the whole thing out. It was amazing, and I'm happy to say that was back in like 2006, and that attraction is about 98% exactly what it was from its concept back then. So it's just been an amazing thing working with him, and we're working with a young group of Imagineers and talking about lessons learned, the things we've learned over the years, and kind of how to do things. And so, as Marty said, John Hench said, our business is not an I business. You can't do what we do all by yourself. There's many hands that touch it, as John said. And so, really, that's kind of the deal. Is we all work as a team. We have a great time together. If any of you aspire to be, you guys like that picture? Yeah, a little nod. If any of you aspire to be an Imagineer, this is what I told several people today, is get really good at what you like, what you enjoy. Whatever your major is in college, for example, if you like architecture, be a great architect. If you like engineering, be a great engineer. We have 140 disciplines at Imagineering, and what you have to do is bring a skill to the table that you can share with the team. And what really happens, the magic that happens is, you can come to the table as an architect, but then by the time you leave a project, you are an expert in show lighting, and audio design, and ride engineering, and it's just amazing what you can learn from all of these amazingly talented people. So whatever it is that you do, civil engineering, whatever it is you're interested in, model building, architecture, it's what you bring to the table, that interest that you bring to the table. You wear many hats at Imagineering. There's another Imaginations winner, Manuel Arredondo. We frequently get together and we have peer reviews in teams, and we go over concepts and give our notes to one another, which is very great. We start, from interiors. If you're interested in interior designer, you can be on an Imagineering team, all the way to the field, putting on big rubber boots and walking around into the field to get it done. It's just everything. Every time is different. It's a different process. Special effects, whatever you're interested in, crazy high-tech model scanning things. But it's really the teamwork. It's really the teamwork that makes it happen. So every time we finish a project, we all gather to take the team picture because you kind of become family during that process. There's a lot you learn because you create things that nobody's ever seen before, including yourselves. You take a lot of risks, you take a lot of chances. And you become a very close-knit group. And every one of those people in that picture, and there's been a lot of team pictures, brought something to the table for the creation of the project. And it's oftentimes people come up to us and they say, how do you guys always build the impossible? How do you do the impossible? And it's like Walt said, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And I say, well, it's really quite simple, as John said, and as Marty said, that it is not an I business, it's a we business. And so, when you take the I'm part out of the equation, then it becomes very possible. Everything becomes possible. So, for those of you who aspire to be Imagineers, keep that dream going. I started in the dish room. When you dish upon a star, your dreams are It can happen. It really can. You have to work very hard, and so all I can tell you is believe in the power of your dreams. And thank you very much for coming.
We're going to ask all the Imagineers to come up here in these seats, and we're going to take a few questions before we finish tonight. So.